What's up, everybody? This is the Booch, and welcome to episode 1 of the Boochcast reviews Darkside of the 90s. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. With the success of Boochcast reviews Darkside of the Ring, and with no signs of a season 4 coming out anytime soon. In fact, I'm pretty sure after the plane ride from hell, we're probably not getting a season 4 on that. But, of course, if it does, we'll have those videos out. But we decided with the success of Darkside of the Ring, we would venture out into the other dark sides and cover those as well. So, Zach and I are here for Darkside of the 90s simply because, well, nobody on the Boochcast, and I literally mean fucking nobody, talks about the 90s or preaches the 90s more than this gentleman right here. He talked about it constantly on every variety show we do. He talks about it when we're hanging out. He lives for the glory days of the 90s. So when this show came out on Vice, I thought, who better to talk and cover this with than the man next to me right now, ladies and gentlemen, the broke soulless ginger, Mr. Zach Scotts.
What's up, dude and dudettes? Yes, it's me, the broke soulless ginger. Speaking, I'm not that broke.
Yep, he's not that broke, but this was a crazy episode, so we're going to kick things off with the first topic that came up, which was called Trash TV, Dirty and Deadly Talk. Oh, so basically what this covered was the rise of daytime talk shows. In the 90s, talk shows were the most provocative thing on television, and at one point, there were 24 talk shows competing in the marketplace. And of course, those were guys like Geraldo, Maury, Oprah, Sally Jessy Raphael, Jenny Jones, Montel Williams, and of course, the most controversial of them all, the one and only, Jerry Springer.
Jerry Springer.
Yes.
Jerry.
Now,
Jesus Christ.
And also you had Mary Lou Renner, Charles Perez, and they all tackled topics that people had never talked about before. And that's what made talk shows interesting. They were going after things that you normally wouldn't talk about or normally wouldn't think about. Mm-hmm. And I think they were trying to keep people's attention during the day, because obviously the late night hosts, they had like the skits and the celebrities and all the other stuff. So daytime talk, they're trying to find their own ways to compete and entertain. And Oprah was like the mom show. You know, she was the one that was like comforting, soothing, bring people on. You get a car, that bitch. You know, every housewife that was home in the 90s, cooking, cleaning, you know, taking care of the kids, they were home watching Oprah. It was either Oprah or soap operas. That was an average house mom's show. They lived for Oprah. So that was the mom show. And Maury was like mostly the paternity test guy.
I love that.
So yeah, that's what his thing. Where like defining out, I'm Jerry. I am 1,000% certain he is the father of my baby. And every one of them almost ends the same way. It's almost the same. Here's what happens. It's like they say like now, John, if it turns out you are the father, what are you prepared to do?
I want to step up and take care of this child if it's mine. Gerard, you are not the father. Groovy.
And then, yeah, and the girl, and every woman does this. They get up, they go, I can't believe it. How is he not the dad? He's the only one I ever slept with. I swear he's the only man. Could it possibly be anybody else? No, Maury, there isn't anybody. 2 weeks later, here's another candidate.
And here you go. Here's an Emmy.
You love me. You really love me. But yeah, and those were the best. And here's the thing, Maury was like, and that was when I actually started liking stuff, like, because this was the difference between Maury and Jerry right here.
What?
When Jerry would have people on his show that were doing infidelities, they were there to confess what they were doing. She goes, Jerry, I'm here to tell my husband I've been cheating on him for the last 3 weeks with a guy with a much bigger dick. Something like that. With Maury, he had the lie detector tests. The lie detectors were the best, because here's the thing. Almost everyone's lying. Every now and then you get that one person that's telling the truth. And it's, as a guy, it's so satisfying to watch.
Yep, because 9 times out of 10 on Maury, it's always the dude's fault.
Well, yeah. Well, sometimes you get the girl that ends up cheating too. But it was like, one of those things would be like, and it'd be weird questions. Like they said, have you had any sexual contact with anybody besides your wife? You said no, that I had to determine that was a lie. It's like, when they found the panties in your car that belonged to a woman you had sex with, you said no, lie detector test determined that was a lie. When they found the sex toys in your glove compartment, did you use them on a woman you were having sex with? You said no, lie detector test determined that was a lie.
I heard what's due to the scratches on the fact that you claim that a cat did, that was a lie. I heard that and I just go, I shit you not.
I believe it. No, I believe it. So they would do those, and then they'd be like, and then they'd be the guy going, "You're telling the truth," and that's the truth. And sometimes the girl, and then I saw one where the guy got every perfect score, and eventually at some point he picked up his chair, put it right in front of his girlfriend or wife or fiance, whatever she was, sat down and just started. And didn't break eye contact and just stared her down. And she's like looking away because she realizes, because she's been giving him shit. I know he's cheating. I know he's cheating. I know he's cheating. Truth, 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 truth. And he's just standing there like, what now, bitch? And he has to sit there and the girl has to go, sorry.
We're done.
I guess I made a mistake. And sometimes the guy would say we're done. Other times the guy would forgive. But after that point, he realizes, all right, look, I just passed this whole fucking thing. Stop. And that's what they would say. Maury, when this test proves that I'm telling the truth, she better stop these goddamn accusations. Because there's some guys who literally are like, they went through every defense. It was like, I told the truth. And it worked. And they go by that lie detector test, man.
They
do. And because they can be beaten, but it's hard. It tests your levels, your emotions. That's why every lie detector, they go through a process before they do anything. Like for example, if you were hooked up, it would be like, okay, question number 1. Is your name Zach Scott?
Yes.
Ding. Are you currently a dishwasher at Jim and Nick's?
Yes.
Ding. Are you of Irish descent?
Yes.
Ding. Zach.
I swear to God.
Did you ever steal the cookies from the cookie jar?
No.
Ding. Okay. That's how because they try to get a vitals. That's why they ask you basic questions at the beginning. So they're trying to get your vitals before they ask the hard questions. It's how they get a reading. So that was great. But another one I really liked on Maury was they would have certain guests come on. They had they were doing this freak show thing for a moment where they literally had this guy where the husband was 7 feet tall and the girl was a legal adult but the size of a freaking toddler.
Yeah. And
you're wondering, how the hell do they have sex? At some point Maury had to ask the question and they answer it like she's always on top or whatever. Because you're thinking do these people fuck? How is that possible?
Like Deadpool says, your poor wife.
Yeah, your poor wife. It's just, it was some of the best segments and shows, and Maury was always entertaining, on point, on task, on message. So a lot of his shows were great, but he would also do feel good moments too for some people. But the ultimate ones, the number one favorite for me with Maury. The out of control kids.
Oh my God.
That get sent to boot camp. Because you find out when watching those how weak these parents fucking are. I'm sorry. If you are a parent with an out of control teen and you're at the point where you have to put your kid in a boot camp on the Maury Show, that tells me you're a parent who doesn't when they act up.
Yep.
And you find out why that's a necessity. It's called, this kid's acting up, you're the parent, you step up. I do not feel sorry for the crying moms on that show. Especially when the kid's smacking the mom sometimes or yelling at him. I told my son to clean his room and he smacked me in the face. How is he still breathing? Anybody watch this video, if you grew up in the 90s, Was there ever a time where you thought, I should smack my mother? I didn't. Did you? No? Did anybody watching? Please, comment below if you had the balls to do that as a kid. These parents
are still remaining after you did.
How are you still alive?
I know.
How about these kids, like, you can't still be alive after that. But they would do, like, all that stuff, and they would do, like, the out-of-control girls that are like, my name is Jenny, I'm 16, I drink, I smoke, I have unprotected sex, and I don't care what anybody says. You don't know me. You don't know me. That shit would happen all the time on the Maury Show. It was insane. Like, and here's the thing. That's the one thing that kept him in competition with Jerry. Because I flip back and forth between Jerry and Maury.
Yeah.
Because when I started
watch Oprah or even somebody.
Oh yeah. Now, Zach, you're not an asshole. You're only an asshole when you're drunk. Now.
You really want to take that bet?
I'm sorry, that was a bad impression of Dr. Phil. But yeah, so that's how they had. He was the paternity test guy, and Sally Jesse Raphael, she like the social issues. She would cover like having like therapy sessions and stuff like that. And Jerry was the show where everyone would fight. Mm-hmm. That was Jerry's no show. The fights, the violence, the chair throwing, all that crazy shit. It was literally an insane show, and that's why people watched and went to the tapings was to see that.
It was still around today. I would like. Hey Benny, want to go to a Jerry Springer show?
If we're in Chicago.
Oh, fuck yeah.
If we were in Chicago and Jerry's taping,
oh hell yeah.
Sign me the fuck up.
Beat me up, Scotty.
I'm in. I'll go. I will watch. I will be entertained like a motherfucker.
And if Gator, if you're watching this, if you had the opportunity to go with us, I'll make you go, because automatically, if you wanted to let somebody rant towards a guest, I'd be like, let me do it. It'd be like, okay, if you get arrested, we're not bailing you out. But just imagine if Gator Ricky Ross got a hold of one of those idiots on Jerry Springer. How funny would that be?
Yes, I have a question. I have a question.
Gator, God damn it.
I have a question.
What?
Why is the fat bitch in the kiddie pool? Why in the hell would you put the fat bitch in the kiddie pool? How is there still water in the pool? How is it not flooding on this thing? There's a flood! Run! Out the door! Out the door! There's a flood! It's flooding! It's flooding! I can't! Help me! Help me! I can't swim! No, wait. Actually, I can. I can't swim! Run! Run!
Oh, Jesus.
There's people on the stage that can't swim! Get them off the stage! Run for your lives, children! The fat bitch is in the kiddie pool!
This is all him, Gator, not me.
Like he wouldn't say that if you gave him a mic. Look me in the eye and tell me he wouldn't say that.
He would say that.
Oh, yes, he would, and he knows it. Gator, I can't believe you said that. But Mr. Richaretta, I had to get my heat. So anyway.
Gator.
What? I had to get my heat.
This is Jerry Springer. This is not professional wrestling. It's a little different.
But I had to get my heat.
No heat.
And at one point, Jerry was the #1 talk show and beat Oprah in her prime.
Oh my God.
Do you know any idea how popular you have to be to generate higher ratings than fucking Oprah?
A lot.
The rest of them couldn't beat Oprah. No, Oprah at one point was untouchable. And Jerry went, zoom, past Oprah. Oprah had to take home a silver medal. And silver don't look good on her.
Nope.
And here's the thing. He was the #1 talk show, but there wasn't much talking on the show.
I don't remember much talking except for fighting, yelling, and cussing.
Well, the only talk, you would get very few talking, it was when Jerry was talking to the first guest. But once Jerry would say, all right, let's bring out the person, or this person's been watching backstage, when they added that into the show,
ding, ding.
Oh my God.
That was so funny when you hear ding, ding. You
yeah.
The bell tone. And I swear, I'm looking at it, it's like, don't you guys have something better to do? I mean, everybody has their family problems, but good God, my family problems aren't normal compared to these fuckers right here.
Exactly. It makes you feel better about your life.
I was like, I would never go on national TV and try to spread about my family problems. Those are way, way worse.
You're looking at your wife going, and I thought we had problems. At least we don't. At least we're not that. It made people feel so much better about their own lives and their own marriages. It's like, you know what, honey? I am grateful to be married to you.
Also,
because I could be dating that.
Yeah, and all the fans roasted like, how the hell did you not go from that to that? And how also was like, how the hell were you that drunk to see if that was not a dude?
Some of them are passable, bro. That's the funny part.
I'm like, okay. And there's one thing like, my goal was to have sex with many men, so I had sex with 300 men. I'm like, okay.
And she did it.
Yeah. All right.
And she got the world sex record. 300 guys.
Jesus Christ.
That is, oh my God.
Where were you when I was 18?
Oh, God. Well, hopefully you weren't number 18. I can only imagine what the other 17 did before you got there. You know who I feel sorry for? Who was number 300?
That's my question.
How was there anything left to fuck after that? That's insanity.
Insane in the brain.
Like, I don't know, like, is it like 300? Does the sex record have to be in one sitting or your overall count? Mm-hmm. And how do you keep tally? You have to videotape every sex thing? Because back then, recording sex was not as easy back then as it is now.
No, it's not.
You need an actual Saved by the Bell fucking camcorder and get a whole fucking production.
Now all you need is a cell phone.
Oh, yeah. Right here. It's like, oh, there it is. Right there for Pornhub. I'm just looking at it right there.
Yep.
Film, stop, upload.
There you go.
Congratulations, we're on Pornhub. But yeah, so there wasn't much talking to that because there was fighting, cussing, and the fans chanting, we mentioned before, Jerry, 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 Jerry. What other talk show hosts had their name chanted when they came out?
No one.
None. Didn't happen.
Nope.
Not on this planet.
Nope.
Or any other.
Any.
And some people felt like these people would become serial killers if the guests didn't come on the show.
Well,
now, as much as I didn't like one of the politically correct bitches on this show, in some cases, she's got a point.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these people were clearly crazy, deranged motherfuckers. There's some nutcases on this fucking show. On Jerry Springer, definitely. Now, in 1991, we hear from Richard Dominic, who was hired to be a producer on the Jerry Springer Show. And he says, a show has to get people who are flipping through the channels to stop and watch. And as someone who has worked in TV, truer words have never been spoken.
Yeah.
That is literally what people look for. Moments where the type of show where if you're flipping through the channels going, whoa, what happened here? Like, that's why, you know, back in the day with and obviously we're wrestling fans, so I'll put wrestling here as an example. At the top of every hour, they would always have something big going on. Because usually around that time is when people are flipping through the channels figuring out what to watch. You know, like around 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock hour, 11, you know, during like if the Raw was 2 hours or 3 hours or whatever. Mm-hmm. So that's why like at the top at 8 o'clock, something big would go down. Like Stone Cold Steve Austin comes out, cuts a promo, start the show. Around 9 o'clock, let's say around 9 o'clock, maybe like The Rock would come out, or DX, or whoever is or something that's going to make the audience at that time flip through. You didn't just put shit at the top of the hour. Like I remember one time Sting was asking Goldberg to be his tag team partner. And he said, I'm going to be back here at the top of the hour at 9 o'clock, and I expect you to come to the ring and give me your decision. That right there was smart TV planning. Mm-hmm. Sting opened the show. Mm-hmm. At the top of the hour at 9 o'clock, Sting came back out. And eventually, Sid Vicious and Rich Steiner came in and jumped him. Goldberg ran out, helped clean house. Sting and Goldberg stood tall. And at that moment, Goldberg pretty much said, we're teaming up in the main event. So you knew, oh shit, I can't miss the main event.
Nope.
Because at that point, we got to come back for the main event.
Yep.
But they always plan the top of the hour to be a major moment in the show. So that when people film through the channels, you're like, oh, that's The Rock. Oh, that's Stone Cold. That's Sting. That's Goldberg. That's Hogan. Oh, shit, Hogan. Ultimate Warrior, whatever. Like, they made sure you stopped so you could see what's going on. So you'll stop and you'll watch, even if you missed the first hour. For whatever reason. They always want to get the channel flippers, the casual people, to stop and watch.
Yep.
And you have to have something that triggers people and is attention grabbing.
Yep.
And Jerry Springer was always attention grabbing.
Yep.
You can flip to that channel at any moment, go to Jerry Springer, two people will be fighting, you're like, oh shit, or someone whips a weave off, and you're like, oh shit. You go back.
Yep.
It was crazy. And Jerry Springer, a lot of people don't know this. He was an award-winning newscaster back in the day. Like, before he became the talk show host that he was, he legit had a newscasting background. He was a news anchor. And in fact, I think he was an Emmy award-winning news anchor. He won awards for his newscasting. And he was also the mayor of Cincinnati. At one point, Jerry Springer was a politician. He was the mayor of Cincinnati. And he had to step down because he found a hooker and paid her with a check. Okay. Now, obviously, I am not going to judge Jerry Springer for for banging a hooker. I'm not going to do that.
Not him.
No, definitely not me. I've had enough hooker experiences, still do, that I'm in no position to judge somebody for banging a prostitute. So I'm not going to do it. However, what I am going to judge is not even the fact that he's a mayor. You know, as long as you're doing your job, I don't care where you stick your dick. I don't care. As long as you're doing right by the people. And as long as you're spending your own money and not the city's money. If you took money out of your own personal bank account to bang a hooker, I don't care. But if you're using our tax dollars to bang the hooker, I got a fucking problem then. Mm-hmm. That's the difference. Use your money, not my money. Here's my judgment on Jerry Springer. Who the fuck pays a hooker with a check?
That's what I want to know. I was like, how's she supposed to pay? I don't know.
What? Unless they're like high-end escorts, I don't know any hooker on God's green earth that accepts a check. I've never met one.
Nope.
I don't know who these people are.
Nope.
Every hooker I've ever met has dealt in cash.
Cash.
Sometimes nowadays they might do Cash App. They might do Venmo. If they have a little card reader, they might take it. So it might be different things today. But I've never in my life met a hooker that took a check.
Yep.
And also, why would anyone be stupid enough, if you're having sex with a hooker and you got no business having sex with a hooker, because you're either married or you're a political official or whatever, why would you leave a paper trail? That's why why do you think most illegal activities are always dealt in cash? Checks leave a paper trail.
Yes, they do.
That's also why, like, if you're like on the run from the law, you don't pay for stuff with a credit card.
Nope.
Because that also leaves a trail. Because they can track your banking and know where to find you. You got to deal in cash. Or you steal someone else's credit card. Which I'm not endorsing that.
Don't do that.
Not endorsing that. I'm just saying those are options that criminals do. So, for the fact that he paid a hooker with a check is the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard.
Yep.
That's where I think Jerry fucked up. That's what I thought was stupid.
Mm-hmm.
You don't pay for a hooker with a check.
No.
And again, if you're a hooker, why are you taking a check?
Very true.
You are pretty much gambling on the fact that check's not going to bounce. And here's the awkward part. If the check bounces, who are you going to tell? You can't sue him and take him to court or press charges. What's he writing the check for? Cause I'm a hooker. Click, click. So that's the only advantage to bouncing a check on a hooker. Who's she going to tell?
Yeah, true.
But if she can find the address on that check, she'll know where to find you to come get that fucking money. Because believe me, especially if she got a pimp, the pimp pulling up.
Yep.
He banging on your suburban front door. I believe you owe my hoe some money. I suggest you go to your wallet and get it. That's what's going to happen. So, of course, his first show debuts on August 30th, 1991. That's the first time Jerry Springer was on TV. That was his, not on TV, but that was his talk show debut. And a lot of people don't know this, but it actually started out as a serious talk show. Like basically he was doing kind of what Sally Jesse Raphael was doing in her prime. Although they were trying to make him the next Phil Donahue, was what they were trying to do. But basically, he was literally doing like reuniting like mothers with long lost kids. He was doing the pretty much the cookie cutter, people pleasing daytime talk show, you know. And people told him what he had to say. They dressed him up like a banker and they wanted to be like Phil Donahue. So basically, there was a script. You're literally, this is what we're telling you to say. This is what we expect you to do. They were basically manufacturing a robot to go out and do a talk show. And Phil Donahue, of course, was the king of daytime talk. He was the mecca for many years. You know, he talked about reproductive rights, child custody issues, equal pay. He set the stage for daytime talk. And he did have silly, goofy, comedic moments and skits, but he was also socially conscious, and that's why people liked him. And one time, Phil had an unruly guest that was yelling at someone on stage, and Phil couldn't get him to shut up, so he just walked up, gave him a mic, put a mic in her face, and had her voice her grievances. And that was what kicked off audience participation in shows, like Zach was saying before about Jerry Springer. Mm-hmm. And they were just roasting people. Jerry, Zach, do you have a couple you want to share?
Oh, Jesus. No, there's too many, because I was just watching. It's like, I don't remember. There have been some highly insulting insults. I'm like, God, I just started laughing. I was like, oh.
My favorite was the one where the gay guy was trying to ask a question. The girl got in his face and she goes, oh, don't start with me, honey. I ain't the one. And I was like, oh, shit.
That's the thing about flamboyant gay guys. They don't give a fuck.
Oh, and he was ready to, he was ready to throw down. Like, she was daring to come down the stairs. He went down the fucking stairs. He's like, let's go. I'm backing it up. And I'm like, oh, shit. I ain't fighting him. I mean, I would if I had to, but I'm just saying, he didn't come there to play. Nope. He's like, don't you disrespect me. I'm like, okay. Easy there, Tiger. That was some crazy shit. I love that part. Like, that was just like one of my favorites. And then another girl was like, one time was like, is your family tree full of nuts? And then one time, like, there was this black incest couple on the show, and they taught this girl in the audience. She said, I'm confused. I thought only hillbillies fucked each other. And I was like, oh, fuck. Ooh. And they got they was ready to jump the stage. Oh, it got crazy. But that was one of my favorites. She was blatantly, like, on live TV, on TV, was like, yeah, I thought only hillbillies fucked each other. It was like, oh, shit.
Also, I remember one called the Kung Fu Hillbilly.
Oh, the Kung Fu Hillbilly?
Yeah.
What he said?
He said he was a big... I've been watching a lot of Jean-Claude Van Damme movies, and I was like, okay, and the dude there got his ass kicked, but I swear to God, there's one guy, remember the... called Steve? Yeah, remember him? He has his own talk show too now. Yeah. And Steve Wilkos, and I was like, I'm a Marine and a former cop, and I was like, okay, and he don't like people, a lot of people, he don't. And he was a big dude. He always broke up the fights and everything else. I was like, I always wonder if it's staged or actually these people really want to come out and put the really dirty laundry out there. I was like,
yeah. I mean,
oh, man.
But the problem was, Jerry wasn't being himself. And he was trying to say in interviews about how serious he wanted to be with his talk show and said, you're not going to see me dancing with the Chippendale dancers. No, Jerry, but we saw a lot of other fucked up shit. Yeah. Dancing with Chippendale dancers would have been like the least of everyone's fucking problems.
Very true.
That would have probably been the most tamest thing on the show.
Yeah, probably. That's all the crap you see.
Oh, yeah. Richard hated this fucking show. Now, NBC and Multimedia eventually merged together, and they decided to relocate Springer to Chicago. And Richard becomes now the executive producer, which means he's now, like, pretty much in charge of the whole damn show. Richard's now calling the shots. And he finds out, now when they get up there, it's in April, and they said, look, we're going to make it the executive producer, but just so you know, we're canceling the show in November. So Richard already knows he's got about 6-7 months with his job. In 6-7 months, they're gone. They're gone. So he decides to stick it to Multimedia and says, well, if they're going to cancel us, let's try to give them a reason not to. Let's take this as far as we can go. And that was the catalyst for the Jerry Springer Show the way we know it today. Was let's make it happen so they can't cancel us. Now, in the 90s, talk shows evolved into a spectacle of violence and human indignity, as they say.
There was a lot of it.
And it all started, but before Jerry Springer, there was another pioneer of this style of talk TV.
What?
None other than Mr. Geraldo Rivera. Now, Geraldo, like Jerry, was also a newscaster at one point. But his career went into the toilet during one of the most controversial moments of his career, where he did a television special where he was going to dig into Al Capone's safe. This was big because they found an old casino that had a vault, and they're thinking like Al Capone was very big with this casino. Mm-hmm. So they thought, hey, let's see, we're going to break into his vault and see what we can find. And this is a television special. It was going on and there was like hours and hours and hours. This guy's digging. They're digging. They finally get inside the vault, and there's nothing inside of it.
Nothing.
There's not a piece of lint, not an old newspaper. There was no bodies, no treasure, no guns, no nothing. But it was the highest rated syndicated special in history. And they learned that all sizzle and no steak can draw ratings. AEW. So, Geraldo gets his own talk show as a result. And there's another catalyst. There was one episode where Geraldo had a bunch of white supremacists on the show. Yeah, I remember seeing this. And there was a black activist named Ron Innes, who was very much for, black people, black rights, fighting racism. That's the thing. He was a black activist. He wasn't a militant person. He was just an activist. He was wanting to get, rights for black people. And he saw these white supremacists, things get heated, and all of a sudden, a fight breaks out. Because at one point, Ron's yelling at one of the guys, and he just puts his hands around his neck and starts choking him. And then all of a sudden, people get up, punches are thrown, kicks are thrown, chairs were thrown. The entire stage gets into a fucking rumble, young man rumble. It is a big fucking fight. And the ratings were high, and it set the stage for outrageous television. At one point, Geraldo, in the scuffle, suffered a broken nose.
Yeah, I remember that.
He suffered a broken nose as a result. So now, Oprah at one point starts having strippers and escort girls on the show. At one time, she even had midgets running around. So Oprah is now starting to get into the game. And of course, everyone else starts diving into outrageous topics as well. Mm-hmm. Now, Jerry breaks away from being Phil Donahue, starts acting like himself, like talking like himself, being the cool guy that Richard met when they first sat down together. And he didn't know what the guests were going to say, and he rolled with the punches. Mm-hmm. He still wore a suit, but he wore the suit under his terms. And he would have strippers on the show, women fighting over men, a man who married a horse. Yeah, you heard that correctly. A man married a horse. You'll never find it because it got pulled from syndication. Because it blurred. That was where they went too far with the man marrying the horse. He actually makes out with the horse on live TV, which is creepy. But he married a horse. And then, of course, they had trannies on the show, which you didn't see a lot of trannies on TV in the 90s.
Nope.
But they were on Jerry Springer. And some of them you were like, holy crap, that's a what? And then there were other times where you're like, dude,
if you didn't
how the hell did you not
know?
Because there's the thing, and I've learned this from hanging out with Jerry Truman. I have to clarify Jerry. I never met Jerry Springer, but I know Jerry Truman, and trannies were his thing, or still are. But Jerry taught me there were two types of trannies in the world. There's passable and there's unpassable. Now, passable means they look like women. Like they walk like women, they walk like a woman, they talk like a woman, they are a woman. Like it's, you look at them until you don't even know it's a dude till the pants come down and you see the dick. You're like, holy shit. Like that kind of thing. And then there's unpassable, where you can clearly tell it's a guy. Like, clearly. You can look right at his face, right at his physique, and you can go, that is a dude dressed like a woman. That's unpassable. And there was some of those where I was like, dude, how the hell did you not figure that out? I knew it the second she walked onto the stage. That was a dude.
Yep.
Like, what the hell?
Mm-hmm.
So they had trannies on the show. They had a man with 6 wives back before Mormons was like a known thing, and a man who cut off his own dick.
I never saw that one.
Well, yeah. Well, they were talking about it. He had like the bolt cutters in his hand. When that they were talking about that guy. Why?
Yeah, why?
What?
Ow.
What sick, twisted, of all the parts of your body you could cut off? Why? There's a million other body parts I would choose to lose before the dick. Before anything. Take the leg.
Take the arm.
Take the foot.
Take the foot.
Okay? My hand, preferably this one. I don't really use, actually, no, I use these. Cut off my ear like Van Gogh. This one's already folded up anyway. Fucking, I don't care.
Take the ear so she doesn't have to hear somebody call him all the fucking time. Get her.
Thank God. That actually would be a godsend.
I don't call like he does.
Not anymore, you don't.
No, I don't.
Okay, but anyway. And then, of course, they tell the story of Montel Williams, who was asked to do a segment with men who dress up and act like babies. Like it's like an infant something. I can't remember the term. But it's like where like people identify as babies. And he said every other person was like, they're agreed to do it. Montel's like, I'm not doing that segment. He goes, now look, if they want to come out and talk about their love of dressing up like babies, I'm open to do that. But they're not coming on here dressed as a baby going, gaga goo goo, I want my baba. I'm not doing that shit. He said, now if they come out in regular clothes and want to talk about that lifestyle, Montel's open to that. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to be on stage with somebody in a crib going, wah, wah. By the way, this is a rattle. I'm not doing anything perverted. Wah. You know, I don't want to listen to that shit. Montel's like, get the fuck. And Jerry at one point, and I didn't even see this episode, he had Siamese twins on the show who were joined at the head. Now, here's what made this interesting to me. I've seen, like on Maury, he's had Siamese twins that were joined at the head. But usually they were joined at the head and they were standing, like Zach, come here for a second. It'd be kind of like this. Like they're stuck together like this, but they're of the same height. Yeah. Like, hold on, let me see something here. Okay, Zach, stand up. It'd be like this. Like their heads would be together like this, but they're like, see how Zach and I are next to each other? Mm-hmm. And they can walk and move around, but they're kind of next to each other? This was different. With this one, they were joined at the head, but one person was like tall and the other person was like really, really short. So he had to carry the other person. Like holding them, like supporting their butt like this while they walk out. Because they're conjoined. But here's the difference between most Siamese twin guests with the talk shows. They would mostly talk about the Siamese, do whatever, but he's like, we're not just going to parade them on here. They found out that one of the Siamese twins liked to sing. So they let her do a musical act. And she was singing country music. I remember one time, there was a midget on Maury. And Maury wanted him to sing. So he sang the song, you know, hold my hand. Would you hold my hand? Hold my hand. And he's like, and he's killing it. He was crushing it. I can't remember what the song the girls sang, but if I could, I would tell it. But I was like, you know, but I remember that guy. That was one of the coolest moments I've seen. Like, because when I was a kid, I didn't know anything about midgets that well. I hadn't seen a whole lot of them. So, but he was a good singer. And the crowd didn't even care he was a midget. They just saw a dude with a great singing voice. And I think, and the thing is this, if you're going to have, and they call it a freak show, but I don't want to say that to be, I don't mean that to be insensitive, I'm just saying that's the term for it. If you're going to have a freak show like that, let them do something entertaining. Like if they're comedians or singers, or they can juggle, let them do that instead of just coming out there. Because I think if they have a good talent, it'll give them more confidence. And that's really what I think was something that was missed when all this was happening. Some people saw it as, oh, you're just bringing these people on here to parade around these like freakishly looking people and embarrass themselves. Like, no. Because when they're singing, the crowd's going nuts. That's an empowering feeling to have a crowd enjoying what you're doing. Whether it's like me as a comedian, when I'm on stage telling jokes, when the audience is laughing or applauding, and I say thank you very much, and they cheer because they loved it set, that's an empowering feeling. Mm-hmm. Or if you sing a song, and I've had people cheer when I'm at karaoke, you know, I'm still standing, yeah, 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 and the crowd's going nuts. Or, you know, I'm wanted, dead or alive, wanted, dead or alive. Crowd goes, and the crowd will go nuts. That is an empowering feeling to have. It's so fucking great. So I thought that was very, very ingenious of him on his part. Now, of course, they also had the other people like confronting mistresses and things like that. And the funny part is, what the show really did is it gave people who would never have a chance to tell their story a platform, because they weren't seen as important to sophisticated people, and gave them a moment. I remember when, if you haven't seen this movie, it's called The Ringmaster. Mm-hmm. And it's a movie based on the Jerry Springer Show. Where,
oh yeah,
and at the end of it, there's this guy in the crowd that's basically yelling about how degrading all these people are and everything. And Jerry Springer goes off on this guest. And he goes, how dare you make fun of these people that are brave enough to come on here and speak their mind? What, they're not allowed to be on television because they don't have your money and all your elitism? Because, well, guess what? They hurt just as much as you do. This is a slice of American life. And if you can't handle it, bite something else. And the crowd goes nuts. And it was beautiful. Because that's the truth. Yeah, no one's denying that these are fucked up people.
Oh yeah, they're fucked up people.
But here's the thing. They were willing to go on national TV and talk about their issues. And guess what? A lot of the issues they have, a lot of other people in America have as well. Mm-hmm. But there's one difference. Most people keep it behind closed doors, and you never find out about it.
No.
They go on national TV and are willing to open up, and knowing that you are going to have the world watching, knowing people are going to criticize you. Because I will say this. I respect anybody that's willing to go on TV and open themselves up. But there's a price that comes with that. People are going to critique it if it's in public. People are going to review it. People are going to joke about it. People may even insult it. You got to be willing to have thick enough skin to handle it. Because that's what I had to learn. When I was on the regular guys, I had to learn that shit. That when you're on TV or you're on radio, that's the price. Because the world is listening. The world is watching. Even right now on YouTube. Some of you might comment underneath and say, Vinny, we love these reviews. Some of you might comment underneath and say, Vinny, you suck. Some of you might say, what the fuck is Zach doing here? And guess what? We got to be okay with that. But also know this. You can come at me. But I can still clap back. Mm-hmm. And you got to be willing to accept that. So it's a give and take.
Yes, it is.
I can give and I can take. Most of y'all on the internet can give. Mm-hmm. Not a lot of y'all can take.
Ooh.
Not at all. Now, at one point, they even had Klan members on the show. Mm-hmm. I remember this. Yeah. Oh, I remember one.
As they came on, they started fighting.
Oh, they had fights and everything. At one point, there was a Klan member on there. I remember he had two kids. He had a daughter who was dating a Mexican guy, and his son was on there hanging out, and then they were talking, and he's like yelling at her for all this other stuff, saying a bunch of racist things, and then he's talking about, I raised both of you better than that. And she said, what are you talking about? He just slept with a black girl not too long ago. And the guy's eyes lit up. He turned around. He threw a freaking chair. And he's yelling at him going, what the hell is wrong with you? He goes, I will hang you. The Klan will deal with you, boy. And you're just sitting there like, holy shit.
I remember that episode.
Oh, man. And and he was like, this dude was like yelling at, and of course he's yelling at Jerry, calling him Jew boy the whole freaking time. And he's like, you remember me back in 97? I was up here with the Klan. Mm-hmm. He was like, what? He goes, I remember. He goes, I had the white hood on with the orange stripe. He goes, oh yeah, that's the guy. Because Jerry, and that's the thing about Jerry Springer. He's Jewish. Mm-hmm. And he had Klan members and anti-Semites on his freaking show. He's doing this knowing they're going to insult him for being Jewish. Mm-hmm. And he took it. And I remember one time in an interview, they asked Jerry, why would you allow them to be on your show? And he had the best answer. Mm. He said, because my whole show is about free speech. I'm a pioneer of one of the pioneers of free speech and freedom of expression. If I deny them the right to come on my show because of how they believe, what they believe, how they think, and how they feel, I'm a hypocrite. Freedom of speech is just that. I preach freedom of speech. They're allowed to come on here and say how they feel. And you have the right to condemn or criticize. But he said, I talk about my show being about freedom of expression, and we should be free to do that. So why would I deny them? Because I don't like what they have to say?
Probably not.
I don't like what they have to say, but they have the right to come on here and say it. As long as they're not violent, which of course they're going to be, but it's going to happen. But he's like, but they never were violent towards Jerry. In fact, one anti-Semite, Jerry almost lost his shit. Mm-hmm. I remember that because they were saying, he was talking about like all this stuff, and he realized he was teaching this to his young children. That's what set Springer off. Like, do you realize that your daughter has to go to school, has to live her life, has to put up with all this and all this other stuff? And then he starts saying all these anti-Semitic stuff to him, and Jerry goes, look, I know you're trying to get my goat, but it's not going to work. He goes, get your goat. He said, I got your mother in the trunk of my car.
Yeah, I remember that.
And then he starts saying a bunch of other stuff, and then Jerry goes, you shut your face right now. And the crowd goes crazy. Yay. And the dude gets up out of his chair. Jerry drops the microphone, and it looks like they're about to go. But Jerry said later the only reason he did that was because he knew the bouncers were going to jump in. Yeah. Jerry's not looking to fight, but he was like, all right, let's go. Like that was one of the rare moments where Jerry loses his cool.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't snap often. But that just set him off. Because, especially when he said the thing about his mother, because a lot of people don't know, Jerry lost both of his parents in the Holocaust.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
His parents died in the Holocaust. Huh. Or if it was either his parents or his grandparents. So he had relatives. The point is, he had people in his family tree that died during the Holocaust. Sore spot for him sometimes. And thing is, Richard was the mastermind behind all of this. Jerry just went along for the ride, but Richard Dominic, he's the one that's pulling the strings, and this show was him.
Yes, it was.
Jerry just went out there. Jerry was the puppet on a string. Richard was the puppet master.
Puppet master.
He was the one that, the master of puppets, he's pulling the strings. That's pretty much it. So then we cut to, they show this in the episode, O.J. Simpson fleeing police in the white Ford Bronco, which we all remember that. Yes. We remember that from the 90s. And they said that the trial was all over media, and it basically changed daytime TV and media coverage, because you saw all the crazy kids coming out of there, and of course the infamous line from Johnny Cochran, if the glove don't fit, you must acquit. Shit. No, you must acquit.
Must acquit.
Yeah. Now some people say the glove don't fit, you fool of shit or whatever. And then of course there was like the one where Carlos Mencia had the ghost of Johnny Cochran that would make up his own rhymes, like, you swim with the fishes, you dead sons of bitches. He's like, be nice to the cripple, show him some nipple. He would just make up random tag phrases like that. and he was called Ghost of Johnny Cochran. And it was where Carlos Mencia would like put up stupid court cases that happened. It was Judge Carlos, and then he would like rule about case dismissed or this is stupid. And then he'd look over and go, "What do you got to say, Ghost of Johnny Cochran?" And the Ghost of Johnny Cochran would make up a rhyme about whatever was going on with the court case.
Per case.
It was fucking hilarious. So of course, the trial allowed TV to go where it hadn't gone before. And of course, this is when we start seeing things like Hugh Grant, who at the time is married to Elizabeth Hurley, getting caught with the prostitute. And I remember Tom Arnold, because him and Hugh Grant were like really good friends. He told the story about someone called him to tell him he was with a prostitute, and Tom Arnold's like, "Hey, did you hear what happened to Hugh Grant?" He goes, "Did he die?" He goes, "Worse. He was found with a prostitute." And of course, Tom Arnold, his immediate answer was, "Man or woman?" Because he's like, he's British. I need to know, man or woman. And his friend goes, "I'm looking at the TV and I can't tell. I think it might be a tranny. I don't know."
Would Daddy like some sausage? Would Daddy like some sausage?
And then, of course, Hugh Grant calls me. He goes, "Bloody hell!" And Tom Arnold says, "Man or woman?" Hugh says, "I can't tell." Then, of course, there was Bill Clinton.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman. Bullshit.
Although I am wearing her panties at this current point in time.
Married to Hillary still. Anyways.
It became the foundation for reality TV. Now, Jerry got criticized, yet that's what the news was putting out. That was the thing that was bothering them the most was, look, you guys are criticizing me for putting all this stuff on TV that you consider to be trash. And yet, what are you covering on the news?
Trash.
The same shit.
Yeah, exactly.
But again, it's different because these are political figures and famous celebrities. You just have normal people on your show. Oh, you mean like the backbone of America? No, these are people who cheat on their wives and do bestiality and are inappropriate for society. Oh, you mean like the backbone of America? Fucking douches. So, and then of course, the personal issues become violent on the show. They're throwing boots and chairs and punching people in the faces. And some people, and in the early years of the show, before they really started jumping in, there were people getting in some good shots. Yeah, a couple right hands and shit. That's where that whole ding ding with the bell came in, because so many fights were happening. Yeah. So trying to make it fun for the audience. And then that's when eventually they had to get bouncers. Yeah. One, of course, being, who we were talking about before, Steve Wilkos. Steve Wilkos. Yes. And I know what you guys are thinking. No, my last name is not Wilkos, even though him and Gator keep going, Mr. Booch Wilkos. I'm not Mr. Booch Wilkos. Mr.
Wilkos. He goes, Mr. Booch Willie. I do the Booch Wilkos. Mr. Booch Wilkos.
That's because Gator originated it. You just kept doing it over and over again. Yes, because Gator was doing the whole, like, Dr. Gator, it's okay to feel sad sometimes. Oh, wait, Mr. Wilkos, you have something to add? Okay.
Swear,
where dirty words have gone too far. That'd be a quarter, please. But yeah, so anyway, he gets criticized. They bring in Steve Wilkos, who started off as one of the bouncers on the Jerry Springer Show, then later went and got his own show. Yeah. Because Steve became popular. Like before, everybody was going, Jerry, Jerry, Jerry. Eventually, at some point, it went, Steve. Steve was getting cheered just as much as Jerry. So Steve capitalized, got his own show. Now, for those that were asking about whether this was real or staged, we get an answer. The producers handpicked guests who were willing to project their rage on national TV. The people on the show had issues, but they were good people who were braver than the people who criticized them because they were willing to publicly display their opinions, as I said before. So, the issues on the show were very real. These were real people. The problems were legit real.
Yes.
But the only thing that was controlled was who the producer brought, and they would kind of just like steer them in a direction.
Yeah.
So, yes, there were real people, real issues. Although there was that one time during an MTV thing where these guys staged an event to get on television.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that.
But Jerry didn't know it was staged. They staged it and made Jerry and everyone think it was real, which pissed off the Springer people. They were mad when they found that out. Because now they think, oh, if this is fake, then all these other stuff must be fake. It's like, no, motherfucker, they're really that disturbed. See, the reason people thought it was staged was because in the 90s, there was no social media. There was no internet. Well, there was an internet, but it was like early stage of the internet. You didn't realize there were people this fucking crazy and fucked up in real life. Like, today, if that show existed today, there's no fucking way you would go, that's staged. You would know it's real. Because we know today there are people in real life who are this fucked up. They are really that fucked up. We see it all the time.
Yep.
Back then, we didn't know the world. You knew your neighborhood.
Pretty much.
Your school.
Pretty much.
Your job.
Yep.
You knew within that fucking radius.
Yeah.
Those people. You didn't know people in fucking California unless you lived there before. But you didn't keep much contact with them. Why? It was expensive to fucking call somebody from Ohio and California.
That's true, it is.
Phone bills would be sky high. So, that's the crazy part. Now, people felt that this was a way to resolve their problems. And they wanted a free trip. So there were some people that would go, look, we got this issue. Let's take advantage of it and have a free trip. So some people would take advantage of that. Now, they would take the guests out to dinner and make sure they weren't too drunk to get on the show. Yeah. So that's what they would do. They would take these guests, put them up in a hotel, in a nice place, mode of transportation. But then they would have handlers that go with them out to dinner and kind of treat them. Hello, how are you? Treat them like normal, regular people. Because they are normal, regular people. But they would just provide the accommodations to bring you on here. And as long as you were respectful, it worked. And I didn't know a lot of people about Jerry Springer that were demanding to guests and shit like that. Yeah. There was one on Jeremy Kyle, but that was in Britain.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he's the love child of Maury and Jerry.
Yeah, pretty much.
Although I gotta say this, I love Jeremy Kyle. I love that show. Do you know why I love that show?
Why?
Because it was so nice to find out that people in England are fucked up too. Yeah. And I'm gonna tell you why I say that. Because so many times in England, there are so many times they look down on America. Our American cousins. They're so fat and stupid and ignorant and all this other stuff. Well, turns out y'all got some fat, stupid, ignorant people in your fucking country too.
Yes, you do.
And it was a beautiful sight to see.
Yes, it was.
I saw that as karma. For every Briton that ever insulted Americans, acting like they were more sophisticated when it's like, no, you're not. No. It made me feel good to see that. Also, Jeremy Kyle didn't take any shit.
No, he didn't.
Oh my god. I think the reason the show got canceled was because one guy was so emotionally distraught that Jeremy just buried him on TV. I think he killed himself.
Oh, I didn't know Jeremy Kyle was canceled.
Oh yeah, I learned that. I used to catch his clips on YouTube. He would be like, but he was saying things like, like if you found out somebody was like cheating on somebody or whatever, like Jerry would be like, why would you do that? What caused all this? Or, do you have any remorse? Like, Jerry never judged his guests. He would ask questions, but he never judged them. Jeremy Kyle would be like, you're a vile, disgusting, horrible human being. This is the lowest thing in the damn world. You should be ashamed of your horrible self. Like,
okay,
Jeremy Kyle
was Jerry Springer and Steve Wilkos.
Yeah. Jeremy Kyle didn't care if you cut your wrist in the bathtub the next day. He'd fucking destroy your psyche. Like, fuck, dude. It made him entertaining, but also there were times where it's like, dude, it's a bit much, bro. Easy. They're not... Okay? They didn't molest a child. He just stole money from his grandpa. Okay? Easy, bro. Now, the producers would get them riled up before they go out in front of the crowd. That's the key thing. The issues weren't staged, but the producers did steer the narrative of what they wanted to see. So that's the aspect. So if somebody was coming on the show to confess that he was cheating on his wife with her sister, and all three of them were on the show, he really did fuck his wife's sister. And she really is there to find out about it. But the producer would say, hey, now remember, that guy just fucked your girlfriend. Mm-hmm. You need to go out there. You need to rip. You better be out there ready to rip their head off, so they can get that money shot moment.
Yeah.
That's why they would come out going, "You trifling bitch, and they would start swinging at each other, or the guy would come out and go, "You motherfucker," and they just start going at it. So they would get them riled up, like, "Hey, you better be, go out there. Remember, this guy just slept with your wife, slept with your girlfriend, fucked your brother. Like, you better kill this person." And they would, so the issues were staged, but they would try to get them angrier and angrier and angrier, so they would get that hellacious moment. And get what they called the money shot.
Money shot.
Now, and then of course at one point they had a family that was feuding with each other, and it was a Thanksgiving special. So they went out and made a whole Thanksgiving meal on the table. Now, of course, they start throwing food at each other, getting upset. One family member was hurt and emotionally upset, but also got in trouble because she was constantly wiping food off her face. Yeah. And the handler felt terrible because she wants, obviously as a human being, she wants to be like, it's okay, calm down. She wants to comfort her. But instead she just tell her, miss, I need you to stop wiping the food off for continuity. Because you're also shooting a TV show. Yeah. So that was an issue. She kept wiping the food off her mouth. Because she had a job to do, she couldn't help her. And other shows would try to keep up now. Because Jerry at some point, he passes Oprah. Mm-hmm. And he's now the #1 talk show host in the country. He beat Oprah. Not easy to do.
No, it's not.
And was fucking like, that's a big deal. To know you beat Oprah. Nope. Who was winning all the Emmy awards. That was the thing. Jerry Springer had the better show, but Oprah kept winning all the Emmys. They never gave Jerry an Emmy ever. He never won an Emmy award, and he had the best talk show on the planet. He was an uncrowned champion of daytime talk show, but they would just keep handing everything to Oprah. Oprah this, Oprah that, Oprah. Okay? It was fucked up. I'm not saying Oprah wasn't good at her job, but Jerry made it to #1. I think he earned it. At least one. You didn't tell me this man didn't deserve one fucking Emmy? He had some pretty epic fucking moments. I think some of the Klan episodes deserve a freaking Emmy. A Jewish guy bringing Klan members on the show? How is that not Emmy award winning? That is freaking crazy.
PR.
That's insane. Yeah. So, and now then of course there was, just when you thought Jerry was the edgiest person on there, he didn't have the most controversial moment. Nope. We got to, and I knew I was going to be talking about this, and I learned this when I was in college. Jenny Jones.
Yeah, I was like, wait a minute. When you were mentioning it, I was like, wait a minute. Oh, I heard about this.
Jenny Jones had a guest on the show who wanted to reveal a secret crush. And that's all the guy knew when he came on the show, was someone wanted to reveal a secret crush. And the guy's name was Scott Emmeder. That was the guy's name. Who was coming on the show to confess to his longtime friend, Jonathan Schmitz. Now, Jonathan, when he came on the show, all he was being told was that somebody had a secret crush on him and wanted to reveal it on TV. So Jonathan's like, cool, I'll come on TV. He finds out it's Scott Emmeder. Scott announces on TV he's coming out of the closet and telling everyone he's gay. But not only was he telling everyone he's gay, he told his longtime friend Jonathan he's in love with him and wants to be with him. Now, of course, they asked Jonathan how he feels about that, and he said, well, I'm actually, I'm very much heterosexual, so this is kind of awkward a little bit. And he's keeping his cool. But Jonathan was so embarrassed and humiliated in this moment that 3 days after the taping, he went to Jonathan's house and shot and killed him.
Yeah, got right here.
He killed him. Killed him at his house.
March 9th, 1995, age 32 at Lake Orne, Michigan.
Yep.
Well, it was also during the 90s, guys, and that thing, the gay thing was not popular at the time.
It wasn't.
And I was like, I saw this, I was like, dude, for real? I was like, at least all my friends are straight.
Well, here's
Jerry.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. And you're right. And people have to bear this in mind when you watch Darkside of the 90s. They're talking about the 90s. it is a different time period where, like today, if you're gay, no one really cares. It's like, it's okay to be gay. It's okay to come out and say you're gay. No, the average human being is not going to care. You're going to have your homophobes that are going to say shit. You're going to have your people that might go off on the internet. And you may or may not have, you know, traditional family members who might not be cool with it. In the, you know, preferably in the older generation of your family. But as far as society goes, it's fine. Back then, it wasn't really. Gay people who were gay were still hiding in secret. They were still in the closet. They didn't really come out. And so to be told that on TV that a gay person likes you, it was embarrassing back then. Because now you got to deal with all this thing about, oh, a gay guy wants to sleep with you, or, oh, you're gay now. And here's the thing. Obviously, if a person is actually legit gay, you are a homosexual. You're not going to care if someone calls you gay because you are. A straight person does not like to be told they're gay. No straight guy. It bothers them. Why? I don't know. It just does. If somebody's not gay, the last thing they want is people thinking they're gay, because then if people think they're gay, women won't be attracted to them. So it fucks with a guy's brain. It does. So now he's embarrassed, he's humiliated, and obviously, just to be clear, Scott did not deserve to die for this.
No.
Let's make that clear right now. But at the same time, I can understand why Jonathan went crazy. And I'll say this right now. This is the thing that everybody needs to learn, whether you're gay or not. I'm going to say this. Some of you might be offended. I don't give a fuck. Here it is. If you're gay, it's perfectly okay. It is okay to be gay. Mm-hmm. It is okay to come out and say you're gay. Mm-hmm. It's okay to be gay and fight for gay rights. Mm-hmm. You are well allowed to do that. But I'll also say this. If you are gay, and you still want to be in the closet and keep it to yourself, that's okay too. If you're gay, but you don't want to be a freedom fighter or fight for anything, you just want to be gay and live your life like a normal person, that's fine too. No one should ever hate somebody for being gay. But at the same time, no gay person should ever make you feel like you have to come out of the closet. That is your choice. No gay guy should ever pressure you to be like, you gotta protest and picket, and you gotta vote against this person or fight against this person if you're truly gay and want to be part of the movement. If you don't want to be part of the movement, don't be. Again, it is your choice. You should make that choice, and nobody, gay or straight, should make any decision for you about your sexuality and how you express it. You want to be out of the closet? Be out of the closet. You want to stay in? Stay in. You want to ride in the gay pride parade? Go let the rainbow flag fly. But if you don't want to ride in the gay parade, if you don't want to be out there doing stuff, you just want to live your life like a normal person, do that. Yep. Don't let anyone pressure you to do or behave in a way that doesn't make you comfortable. Everything should be done on your terms. Yep. You come out on your terms. Yep. You fight for rights on your terms. Yep. And that's all I got to say about that. Yep. And then, of course, after all of this, Oprah, Jenny Jones, Geraldo, they all decide to stop doing the crazy TV stuff. Yeah. And they go back to being politically correct and doing the cookie cutter stuff. Because it's not out of control it was. Like, Jenny Jones at one point was on trial. People were actually blaming Jenny Jones for what happened. Does she take some responsibility? You know, it caused a whole media stir. It did. However, Jerry Springer was the only one who kept venturing forward and continuing to do the TV that he wanted to do. Yeah. They decided to continue to push the envelope. Yep. And the ratings continued to climb. Yep. And because they were going so strong, they end up getting blamed for the Jenny Jones incident. And it wasn't even on their fucking show. True. And here's the thing that Richard said that was very interesting about why they don't deserve to blame. He says, and I quote, They never surprise anyone on their show. Ever. That's the difference. Jenny Jones blindsided Jonathan with this secret crush.
Yeah.
So they practically set this whole thing up to where he's coming on here, he thinks it's a girl. Finds out it's a dude that's been his best friend for years. So they blindsided him. Nobody on the Jerry Springer show was ever blindsided.
Nope.
They would tell them. They would say either this is going to happen or this is going to happen, and you got to be okay with that. And if any guests at any point said they weren't okay or had to think about it, Richard said, I wouldn't put them on. He never put anybody on that was uncomfortable with what was happening at the initial point. Now, obviously, that lady at the Thanksgiving table, she became uncomfortable later.
Yeah. That's
on her.
Yeah.
But the producer was like, if you're not okay with this, say it now. He said, I checked with everybody. I made sure everybody was cool. If you're gonna go out there, this is what's gonna happen, and you got to be okay with it. And if you're not, say something now, and we'll cut you off the show. I won't put you on if you're not comfortable. And that's a fair assessment to make. That is him being very fair. And what was even funnier was that Richard viewed Geraldo as a hypocrite because he also went back the other way.
Yeah,
like putting on glasses, trying to look intelligent when it's like, dude, you started all this shit.
Yep, true.
Now, and then of course we have Columbine.
Yes.
Takes place, and they start blaming the violence on Jerry Springer.
I thought it was Marilyn Manson.
Him too.
Mm-hmm.
Between 1996 and 1999, 8 separate school shootings rocked the nation. And Columbine was like the culmination of all of them.
Yeah.
It was the big one. And media pundits and religious officials blamed Springer and other forms of media violence. So they said Jerry Springer's talk show influenced the nation. They blamed Marilyn Manson's music.
You know they didn't listen to Marilyn Manson?
No. They blamed TV, they blamed radio, they blamed video games.
Angry heavy metal. What?
Yeah.
What shirt I'm wearing?
The video game Doom was blamed.
South Park.
I was like, wait,
South Park.
Yeah. And here's the thing about media violence that I found the most ironic.
What?
In the 90s, do you know who was practically leading the charge against violence in the media and all this bullshit?
Who?
Hillary Clinton.
Oh, of course she did.
But here was the flip side. And to show people I'm fair, I'm bringing this up. In modern day history, you know who tried to pull that shit again?
Who?
Trump.
Yep.
Now, I've gone on record. I voted for Trump. I'm a Trump guy to a degree. There were certain things about Trump I did not like. Mm-hmm. The fact that he tried to blame media violence or the media for stuff for the shootings that were happening while he was president was one of the few things I was completely against him on. And it pissed me off that he did that. It did. Because, first of all, I'm like, no. Violence in the media is supposed to be a liberal thing, not a conservative thing. Yep. What the fuck? That was my first mind went. But that pissed me off when Trump did that. Yeah. That was one of the few things where Trump did something and I was not happy about it. That's the thing. I didn't agree with everything Trump did as president. I agree with a portion of it, but not all of it. And this was one of the few times where I literally read that article and said, fuck Trump. That pissed me off.
Media's fault.
It's not the media's fault. It's not. There's a lot of things you can blame it on. Mental illness, gun control. There's a million different things you can blame this on. Parents being shitty, not parenting their own kids. And that's the thing that bothers me. Because that's what parents do. They blame other things because they don't want to take the blame. Because every parent believes they're perfect. Every parent believes they're awesome. Guess what?
What?
Not all of you are.
Nope.
And guess what? There is no such thing as a perfect parent. It does not exist.
No, it doesn't.
I have kick-ass parents.
I have kick-ass.
They're the farthest thing from perfect.
No.
Did they do everything right? No. But they did enough right to where I didn't shoot up a goddamn school or an office. Or I didn't do drugs and alcohol. Well, okay, that's not entirely true. But when I was a kid, let's say that.
Yeah.
They kept, obviously when I was an adult, I had my fair share of fun with those things. But as a kid, no. Not at all.
Not at all.
At all? Who's at all?
Who at all? Not at all. Not at all. Not at all.
But no, so I'm saying that the parents do this stuff. That's why when parents always say, like, I don't like what's on TV. Here's my argument to those parents. First of all, there is a thing on your television, and they had this back in the 90s, so I know it existed. And you know what that thing is called?
What?
Parental control settings.
Parental control settings.
You could go on your TV and set it up to where on certain channels you can block them. So your kids can't watch them. And the only way your kid could watch it is if they somehow found out the password. That's why you had to make the password difficult. And you would put in a little number code password, like kind of like a PIN number, and that would allow you to access that channel. And if your kid didn't know the password, he couldn't get in. Now, if by some miracle your kid hacked your remote control, did a bunch of combos, and somehow figured out the password, okay, well then there was a problem there. He earned it at that point. Okay? You lost this round. But they had ways of allowing you to do that. And the parental controls were there so you could decide for your child what you deem inappropriate. But that's the difference between parents of generations. Instead of people saying, hey, I should be able to block certain channels on my phone, I don't want to go through all that. Instead, I want the network to put shows on that I deem appropriate. I want to change someone's whole creative direction because it makes me uncomfortable. And that's when you finally have to learn the world doesn't revolve around you.
Nope.
The sun does not rise and set on your ass.
Nope.
If somebody wants to create a show that's edgy and controversial, they have the right to do it. You have the right not to watch it. And you have the right to control your kids' settings so they are incapable of watching it. And if they watch it behind your back, you know what you do? Punish them!
Yep.
Don't get mad at the network. Don't get mad at them because your kid got exposed to that. Ground your kid for watching something inappropriate, like my parents did.
Mine did too.
My parents caught me watching sexual content I couldn't watch at a young age. I got punished.
Yep.
They caught me watching violent movies that I wasn't allowed to watch as a kid. I got punished.
Yep.
If I did something to defy my parents when I was a child, they punished me in some way, shape, or form. I either got grounded or I got my ass kicked, depending on which parent caught me. If my mother caught me, I was grounded. If my father caught me, I got my ass kicked.
I got both.
Sometimes my dad would do both, depending on the severity of the punishment. But my mom was more the grounding. My dad was more the keep you in line. So it's what they did. It's called being a parent. And if you think if something's wrong with your child, you got to figure out what it is. The only problem is back then, nobody really cared about mental illness in the 90s.
Nope.
You just thought your kid was stupid or weird. Mm-hmm. Or he's just lazy. I can fix that. Now today we're more, that's why we have things like Mental Health Awareness Month, or people who are depressed. People understand now that they didn't understand back then. Because back then we weren't really caring about shit like that. It allowed you to talk it out, talk it out, talk it out. And that's the thing. If you know somebody is having problems or is mentally ill, talk it out. If you can't talk it out, that's why they have hotlines designed for people that you can call and reach out and talk to. You can't blame TV and movies and video games for what your kids do. People who do that made the mistake of letting the TV raise your kid. You're raising your kid. At some point, you got to make the time to be a parent.
Yep.
I know you work hectic schedules, but you still got to find the time.
Yep.
And if you can't find the time, you're not fit to be a parent.
Yep.
I had parents who worked all the time. They always found time for me when I was a kid.
Yep, same here.
All right. So then, at one point, there was this guy, Michael Flagger, who was a Catholic priest in Chicago, was leading protests against Springer.
Yeah.
They would protest outside the place. Oprah started talking shit. And Richard responded by saying, if you want to save the whales, call Oprah. If you're sleeping with a whale, call Springer. Fucking great line.
Yeah.
But then he would say things like, we're going to beat this bitch. And we did. That's what was the motivating factor. Oprah decided not to stay in her lane. Like, all right, Oprah, you want to talk shit? Well, guess what? I'm going to beat you in the ratings.
Yep.
And then because of all the fights on the program, the Chicago City Council went after Springer.
Yep.
And Springer showed up and made a mockery of the whole thing because it was a joke. So he's up there giving sarcastic answers and battling back, and the alderman got triggered throughout the whole thing. And he's like, if I took this book and I smacked you in the face with it, would you consider that assault? He said, want to smack me with a book? I don't know, you really want to smack me with a book? And everybody starts laughing, and Jerry was like unfazed. That's a thick-skinned motherfucker right there.
Yeah.
When he's just like, he kind of had that Paulie and Rocky where he goes, I don't sweat you. Or it reminded me of Michael Keaton when he was on Jimmy Fallon, and they were doing this kid theater thing, and he wanted to try this segment. He goes, I want to test your acting shots. I want to see how good you are. And Michael Keaton goes, I ain't afraid of you, bitch. They were saying it jokingly. Yeah. But Michael Keaton had a straight face going, I ain't afraid of you, bitch. I think that's what Jerry Springer was like when he was looking at the alderman. He's like, I ain't afraid of you, bitch. Oh, and then, of course, Springer knew how to play the game because he was also a politician.
Yeah, he was.
And he didn't think and he knew this wasn't going to do anything to hurt his show or his ratings.
No.
That's the thing. The fact that Springer is a former politician, he knows the game. He knows what you're trying to pull. And he knows how to dance around you. Which they weren't expecting.
Nope.
And the bad publicity only made the ratings bigger. Like, that's where the phrase comes, there's no such thing as bad publicity. They said, as long as you don't murder, rape, or molest, there is no bad publicity. Back then. Those are the only three ways you got bad publicity. You killed someone, you raped someone, you molested a child. That was it. Other than that, no such thing as bad publicity. And he put the outtakes of his show on VHS. He wrote a book. He sold a board game. He fucking made, like, so much money on merch. And then as the day came to an end, the show started getting stale. Because eventually, people got tired of, because you can't top it. And again, this is the issue with being all sizzle and no steak. AEW. So, the reason, and I know you're commenting, but he's making fun of AEW. Yes, I am.
Yeah, he's
Here's
making
why.
fun of AEW.
Here's why, though. When you're all sizzle and no steak, eventually the sizzle goes away. It might take a long time, but eventually it is going to go away. Because you can't top it. That's what I always say about wrestling. When they do the stupid acrobatic shit or constantly putting people through tables and ladders and going off the stage. Eventually, you've done it. You've gone as far as you can go, and you can't get any crazier unless you want to kill somebody, which they're not going to do.
No.
So Springer went as far as it could go until eventually it ended. Mm-hmm. But as Jerry Springer came to an end, that's when the rise of reality TV came out.
Oh, God.
Yes, all the shitty reality TV that we all know and hate was born from this. Things like The Real Housewives, Jersey Shore, Top Chef.
I like Top Chef and Kitchen Nightmares because it's actually about cooking and food, and I am in the restaurant business, so I somewhat enjoy this. But the Beverly Hills Housewives, The Real Housewives, this and that, I'm like, you ladies are fucking pathetic.
It's the dumbest show on TV.
I was like, seriously? I was like, how about we do one? housewives of blue-collar families. I tell you right now, knowing how our parents are, that show would be canceled after one day.
Well, here's the thing. See, my issue with the Real Housewives is this. They're not real housewives. They're trophy wives. There's a difference. I'll tell you right now. If you have a nanny, a butler, a housekeeper, basically if other people are cleaning your house, you are not a housewife.
Nope.
You are a trophy wife.
Yep.
A trophy wife is exactly that. A trophy.
Yep.
You are on display. Mm-hmm. You are arm candy. You married a rich guy and you spend his money, but walk around acting like you're rich. No, he's rich. You're just along for the ride.
Yep.
A real housewife took care of the house.
Yep.
Thus the term housewife. Now, a lot of people don't like hearing that because they think a housewife is a step backwards for the women empowering movement. Now, you can interpret that however the fuck you want. But I'm telling you this right now. If you're a woman and you're not taking care of your house, you are not a housewife. You're just a woman living in a house. But that was what a housewife did. She took care of the house. She cooked, she cleaned, she took care of the kids. She did all the house duties while the man was out working. Mm-hmm. And that's why the housewife garnered respect, because she had to multitask. She's on the phone talking to her girlfriends and like this, while making dinner over here, while yelling at kids that are running around the house. She's got a washer and a dryer running simultaneously with everybody's laundry. That was a housewife. That's a reality show that I would like to see. And then every now and then, you get housewives in a neighborhood, they all sit down and they're watching Oprah and soap operas and all that stuff. And they're just chatting on and on, having a good time. Maybe on a weekend they go out somewhere, they do a little bit of partying, but not a lot. But the primary job is taking care of the house. And then it's like, and then by the time the man comes home from work, boom, he comes home to a clean house, clean clothes, dinner on the table. That's what gave a housewife respect. The fact that she took care of everyone. She was the glue that held the family together. While the man went to work and paid the bills. While the kids went to school and learned. Or laid in a crib if they were freaking babies, just crawling around the damn house. That's what a housewife did. She had to take care of the house.
The house.
Because there was a time, and Ali Wong used to say this in her stand-up act, a woman's job used to be no job. Mm-hmm. But now in 2022... women go out and get jobs. They make money. There's 2-income households. And guess what? I am totally fine with that. Yep. I have nothing wrong with that. Woman wants to get a job. Woman wants to make money. If a woman can make her own money and pay her own way, I have more respect for that woman than any other woman on the goddamn planet. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you that right now. Yep. But I'm just saying, if you're not doing household chores, you are not a housewife.
Nope.
Just a woman living in a house. You're a stay-at-home wife or a stay-at-home mom. You're not a housewife if you're not taking care of the house. Yep. And in the Real Housewives, none of them are doing any of that. They all got nannies and butlers and all that other shit. All they do is sit around and yell and scream and cackle at each other. Coming out with who's got the better dress, who's got the better earrings. You know, you sleep with all these men. Is bitch better? Like that shit. That's the stupid shit you see in reality TV.
I hate that shit.
And that's why it's dumb.
Dumb. There's so many Real Housewives of this, and I'm like, okay, click. Oh, something interesting.
Yeah. You very seldom find reality shows that are good. There's some that are good.
There's some that are good.
Like I thought Catfish was really good. Reality TV evolved from shows like Springer. Mm-hmm. Because they blur the lines between truth and fiction.
Yeah, that's true.
And again, it's kind of like that. The things that are happening are real, but they stage the situation. That's reality TV. Mm-hmm. Like, you're going to this event, we're going to shoot something, they turn on the camera, whatever the fuck happens, happens. Yep. Now, sometimes they might stage the conflict if they have to, but in general, there's real shit going on. Yep. Now, Jerry Springer wouldn't work today because of cancel culture.
Of course it wouldn't.
They actually said if you took somebody that's in the cancel culture and showed them episodes of Jerry Springer, their heads would explode. Yeah. At what we were allowed to put on in the 90s. And Springer's also willing to admit that his talk show is stupid and ridiculous. Mm-hmm. And that's another reason people respected Springer. He didn't come on there and pretend like he was putting on, intelligent quality television. He goes, yeah, it is stupid. It is ridiculous. Look at what's on here. But guess what? People find it entertaining. But here's what was great about Jerry Springer that separated from the rest of the people. Jerry Springer was the type of guy that when a man said, I married a horse, he said, I'd love to see a picture of the bride. That's the difference. He didn't laugh at him. He didn't ridicule him. He didn't look at him and go, what the fuck is wrong with you? I'm sure he thought it, but he didn't say it. He would just say, oh, cool, let me see a picture of the bride. He made you feel welcomed on his show. Mm-hmm. As long as you were nice to him, which that's the thing. A lot of the guys that come on the show, they would be nice to Jerry. Aside from the Klan members and the anti-Semites. Cool. But he was always welcoming with everyone that came on his show. If you were nice to him, he was nice right back to you. And he very seldom judged anybody. Now, the audience, they would rip you a new asshole.
Oh, God, yes.
But Springer never did. Except for a few times when people would cross the line. And that's the key thing to being a successful talk show host. Mm-hmm. Is you should always, no matter who your guest is, make them feel welcome. If you're going to have somebody on your show that's controversial, or has anything, says anything that you deem inappropriate in any way, whether it's sexual preferences, racism, homophobia, whatever, if they're sexist or whatever their views are, if you're going to have them as a guest on your show, if you're not mature enough to get to the bottom of why they feel the way they feel, don't have them on your show. Tyra Banks is a prime example. She always got offended and triggered by every guest she ever had on her show. She was not emotionally competent enough to be a talk show host. Because you're going to be dealing with people with different points of view. Your job is to make people feel welcomed on your show to air their point of view. You don't have to agree with it, but you at least have to let them share it. And then you let the audience decide for themselves whether they think this person is cool or a piece of trash. And I've always done that on the Boochcast. Anytime I've had a guest on my show, a comedian, a wrestler, an activist, whatever, I've had plenty of people over the years be interviewed on my show for different reasons. I've always let them air their thoughts, their opinions, their point of view. Now, if something didn't seem right to me, I would debate and ask questions about it. But I never judged anybody or gave anybody any shit. I let you guys decide. I'm not going to tell you how to think or feel about a guest on my show. I want you to listen and make your own decision, whether you like or hate this particular person. I don't brainwash my listeners. I keep it real, but I don't brainwash. You can think for yourself. You don't have to agree with everything that I say. All you have to do is understand when you listen to the Boochcast, when you listen to the Booch, you're getting his thoughts, his opinion, his point of view. Can't handle it? Listen. So, Zach, you have any closing moments you'd like to give?
No, watching Jerry Springer Mile, you just go, I could get slower, but it's entertaining as shit and it's funny as hell. I'm like, yeah, my life is no indicator compared to you fuckers.
Yeah, my grandma loved that show. She loved Jerry Springer, but wouldn't watch Batman because it's too violent. Wrap your head around that shit. As we wrap up, ladies and gentlemen, this episode of Boochcast Reviews, Darkside of the 90s. Tune in next week. We got a great show for you guys. This one's going to be called The Viper Room.
Viper Room.
Hollywood Sanctuary is going to be next week. We're going to be diving into The Viper Room. So make sure you guys... Make sure you're following us on all of our social media platforms. The links are down in the description box below. Follow us on all of our social media platforms. Links are down in the description box below. And, of course, hit the subscribe button and ring that bell to be notified so you never miss another episode of Boochcast Reviews Darkside of the 90s, as well as other additional Boochcast YouTube content. See you guys next week. Until then, pizza.
Look both ways before you cross the street.
Baby.